What's up, guys? We're back with a full slate of MLB action here on Sunday, June 2nd. Pretty wild Saturday out there, guys, and not the best one for us, honestly. I mean, we saw the Orioles come through minus 158. That one worked out. We saw the Mets. That was a weird game. The Twins ended up losing. That was pretty annoying. The Astros can't figure out if they're going to be good or bad. The Atlanta Braves game was an absolute insane deal. No way to figure that one out. Who saw Chris Sale getting absolutely shelled by the Oakland A's? I certainly did not. We also hit on Cleveland minus 150. That one came through for us. And that Cincinnati plus 118 pick, that game is still going on right now. That game was in a rain delay for like the entire day. So unfortunately, we don't have a result yet for that one. Hopefully they can come through for us. We'll just have to wait and see. So best case scenario, we end up 3-3 today. So not exactly what we were looking for, but let's try and get back on track here heading into Sunday. First, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today. We will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Minnesota Twins taking on the Houston Astros. Minnesota comes into this game fresh off of that Game 2 loss. They lost 5-2, let us down in that one. Did not look good out there. Not a huge fan of what everything they were putting together in that one, to be honest. They're handing the ball in this game to Simeon Woods Richardson, who's 2-0 on the year with a 2.70 ERA, and he's coming off a pretty solid start there against the Kansas City Royals. We do see that the Twins are actually 3-2 over his last 5 starts, so that's pretty respectable. He really only has one start in there that wasn't good. Back on the 11th, he was pitching at Toronto and just got lit up, but other than that, he's looked excellent, but even facing some pretty decent hitting teams like Cleveland and Kansas City. I mean, against Kansas City, 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. That is not a bad outing at all. So definitely looking at him as a plus level pitcher. I mean, do we trust him to go deep into the game? Not really. And is that a major concern for us? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a major concern. We see the Minnesota Twins have an average bullpen. Their bullpen ERA is 3.51, which is exactly league average. So not terrible. Not feeling too bad about that. I mean, they're 15th in bullpen ERA. So not a terrible bullpen. And the offense, been a little bit hit or miss lately, no pun intended. I mean, this team, they scored 2 runs in their last game, but 6 in the game before that, and then 7 when they were finished off their series against the Kansas City Royals. We see Willie Castro, he's hitting the ball relatively well. I mean, we're not exactly freaking out about any individual hitter on this team per se, but overall, they are 10th in the majors in runs scored and 11th in the majors in slugging percentage. Their team on base percentage bothers me a little bit. I mean, they're 21st with a 306 on base percentage. Like, that's not great. They're only batting 233 as a squad. That's also not great. So I'm not super duper high on this team offensively, but also not super low on them. They're going to have to put up some runs here against the Astros, who got the Game 2 win 5-2. So they'll definitely take that. We saw Alvarez hit 2 home runs in that game. So didn't exactly see that coming, but regardless, looking at their pitcher for this game, they're handing the ball to Hunter Brown. He's 1-5 on the year with a 6.39 ERA. But guys, as weird as this is to say, and wasn't necessarily something I thought we were going to be saying, Hunter Brown's been looking pretty good lately. I mean, his last time out, it was against the Seattle Mariners, so not the hardest hitting opponent, but he went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, only a single earned run while striking out 9 and walking none. Like, that is a fantastic outing by any standard. Start before that, he looked very good against the Angels. Start before that, he did give up 4 runs to the Milwaukee Brewers, but it's the Milwaukee Brewers. Unfortunately for him, guys, we see that his team, the Astros, are only 1-4 in his last 5 starts. But really, the one start there against Milwaukee was a start that he kind of deserved to lose, and that's a game that the Astros won 5-4. So in general, he's been putting them in a position to win lately. So definitely look at him throwing the ball really, really well right now. The Astros bullpen in general, guys, has been decent but not great. They're around league average, so we're not scared to see their bullpen get out there on the mound, but we're also not super thrilled about it. The Astros offense overall looked very good yesterday, but has had their struggles this season for sure. I mean, over their last few games, they've scored 5, 1, 4, 1, and 2 runs. Like, that's not great. This team keeps putting up great offensive numbers in like most counting stats, but just not getting on the board a lot. I mean, they're 11th in runs scored, so that's not terrible, don't get me wrong, but they're 3rd in the majors in batting average, 6th in the majors getting on base at a 321 clip. Like, this team should be producing more runs. There's just no way around it, but that's not what's happening. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Twins at plus 115, the Astros at minus 130. We've got an over-under in this game of 8.5. We see Minnesota as a pretty solid road team. They're 16-13 on the road. We see Houston is 15-16 at home, so not great. Looking at the over-under numbers, we see some very interesting things, though, guys. We see Minnesota is 31-25-2 to the under, so not a huge trend, but definitely not nothing. We also see that Houston they're the best MLB team to the under in the majors. I mean, they're 35, 21, and 3 to the under this season. So, guys, we've got two pitchers out there on the mound that are throwing the ball really, really well. Two offenses that aren't exactly wowing us. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Go ahead and put me down for the under. I don't know if this will end up in the pinned comment, but it's got a very, very reasonable chance. I mean, neither one of these offenses look great. I've got a decent amount of faith here in Woods Richardson. I've got a decent amount of faith, shockingly enough, in Hunter Brown. So give me the under. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Boston Red Sox. The Tigers are looking to get a split in this series. They've lost the last two games. They've lost 6-3 and 7-3 after winning game one of this series 5-0. They're down to 28 and 30 on the year, handing the ball to Casey Mize in this one. He's 1-3 on the season with a 4.71 ERA, coming off of a pretty weird start against the Blue Jays, guys. He gave up 8 hits over 4 1/3. He only gave up 3 earned runs, but yeah, not a great start, and it's back-to-back pretty bad starts for him. I mean, not a lot of positives to take from a start against the Royals where he only lasted 1 2/3 innings, gave up 9 hits and 6 earned runs. So not super stoked about how Mize is looking right now. And in general, the Tigers' bullpen has been fantastic. They're top 4 in the majors in bullpen ERA, so this has been a very, very good bullpen, but their offense obviously hasn't been great. I mean, they started off the series well, but over the course of the season, guys, this is a league average at best offense. I mean, they're 17th in runs scored, but none of the numbers really back that up. I don't think we're going to see this team continue to be that good offensively. I mean, 18th in slugging percentage. They're getting on base at a 303 clip. That's not very good. They're only batting 234 as a team. Like, not a ton of positives here for me about the Tigers offense. And they're taking on a Red Sox team that's been scoring some runs. I mean, they've scored 13 runs over their last 2 games. They're 30 and 29 on the season overall. Handing the ball in this one to Brian Bello, who's 6-2 on the year with a 4.18 ERA. He's coming off of a couple of reasonable starts. I mean, against the Rays back on the 22nd, he went 6 innings, gave up 3 earned runs. Then against the Orioles back on the 28th, he went 5 innings, gave up 3 earned runs in that one also. He's had a little bit of a control issue lately, walking 6 batters over his last 2 starts. So that doesn't inspire a ton of confidence in me. And if we're looking at the Boston bullpen, I mean, this is a team that's been ravaged by injuries, and they're still 11th in the majors with a 3.37 bullpen ERA. So not terrible there. This offense has been scoring runs lately, but I don't think it's an elite offense necessarily. They're not going to be top 10, although they are 9th in the majors in slugging percentage, 12th in the majors in runs scored. Over the last few games, they are scoring some runs. So I mean, 6, 7, 0, 1, and 8. So like some bad performances, some good performances. I mean, not an offense that I'm necessarily terrified of. Look at the numbers for this game, guys. We see the Tigers at plus 125, the Red Sox at minus 142. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. We see that Boston's not a great home team. Detroit is not a great road team, so not a lot to go with there. We also see mixed trends in the over-under department. I mean, Boston's a big under team. Detroit is a pretty big over team. And with an over-under of 9, I'm also not stoked about that one. Guys, if you're forcing me to bet this game, I think go ahead and give me the hotter team in this one. Go ahead and give me the Red Sox to finish this one off and get a 3-1 series under their belt. But yeah, I don't have a ton of confidence in this one, and the price isn't amazing. And we're also would be gambling on Bello to have a good day. So I guess it's a slight lean towards the Red Sox, but no bet from me. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Oakland A's going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. My God, guys, Game 2 of this series was absolutely wild. We saw the Athletics come away with the 11-9 win after just destroying Chris Sale. Yeah, I don't know who else saw that coming, but I certainly did not. The Athletics are 24-36 on the year. They're handing the ball in this one to Luis Medina. He is 3-10, or was 3-10 last season, that is, with a 5.42 ERA. He's going to be making his first start of the season this year, so it'll be interesting to see what we actually get out of him. I mean, he's a fairly short right-handed pitcher. I'm not super thrilled about having him out there. He's a young guy, so like, definitely potential there, but we'll just have to see what he actually produces. And in general, guys, the Oakland A's bullpen has been the worst in the majors with a 4.25 bullpen ERA, dead last in the major league, so not super stoked about that. And in general, we're not super stoked about the A's offense, but man, they came alive yesterday, so give them some credit where credit is due, I suppose. Not the best offense overall this season, but yeah, the last few games also haven't looked like the best offense, but man, yesterday, absolutely crazy. So give the A's some credit there, but I don't think we're exactly freaking out about this offense. They're going to need to score some runs going up against the Braves, who are 32-24 on the season after that loss. Yeah, can't be super stoked about how that one went down. They're handing the ball in this game to Charlie Morton, who's 3-2 on the season with a 4.29 ERA, and he's coming off a game getting absolutely smashed by the Washington Nationals. He gave up 12 hits, 8 earned runs over 5 2/3 in that start. Not amazing, which definitely a departure from the norm for him. I mean, over his last 5, he's got 2 good starts against the Cubs, which not too special there, but he's got a great start against the Dodgers, so definitely give him some credit. He's been good this year, maybe not elite, but definitely good. I mean, what more can you expect out of a 40-year-old dude? Like, he's doing all he can out there. The Atlanta bullpen has been very solid with a 3.25 bullpen ERA. That's got them 9th in the majors, so nothing to scoff at. This offense definitely did well. I mean, they came with 9 runs. You definitely expect to win games when you come with 9 runs, but did not work out. They're definitely missing Acuna quite a bit. I mean, you can't lose a guy like that and not be missing him. We've also seen Ozuna take a, maybe not a nosedive, but not hitting the ball like he was in the early goings. Obviously, that was unsustainable, but still, this team is down to 16th in the majors in runs scored, and all their major offensive categories statistics are trending downward, so not super high on this offense. I think the numbers for this game are pretty nuts, guys. We see the A's at plus 200, the Braves at minus 240. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this one. Oakland's a bad road team. Atlanta's a good home team, but they have not responded well to this whole Acuna deal, so I'm not really sure which way to go on this one. I mean, Atlanta's a big under team, but I don't have a lot of faith here in Medina, and I also don't have a ton of faith in either one of these bullpens. They have to be fairly fried after that long game. So in general, guys, maybe I lean towards over 8.5, but also this is just kind of a stay away spot for me. This series is looking really, really weird. Don't really know what to expect. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Tampa Bay Rays going on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. We see the Rays come into this game fresh off of back-to-back losses. They lost game 1 3-1, lost game 2 9-5. They're 28-31 on the season, handing the ball to Zach Littell, who's 2-3 in the year with a 3.03 ERA. He's coming off a good start against the Oakland A's. He went 7 innings, gave up only 3 runs. He did give up 6 hits and a home run in that outing, but he also struck out 9, so kind of got to take the good with the bad. We also see that the Rays are 3-2 over his last 5 starts, but they've lost each of his last 2. He's looked good lately, but not what I'm going to call dominant out there. I mean, he's even getting touched up for a lot of hits against teams like the Mets, so he's got some work to do a little bit. And in general, the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen has been kind of mediocre. They're 20th in the majors, so not a great bullpen necessarily. The Rays offense comes into this game not looking amazing over the first 2 games of the series. They've been better recently than they were in like the first part of the season, but man, not a lot of great things to say about a team that's got the 29th best slugging percentage in the majors. They are 23rd in the majors in runs scored, 19th in the majors in on-base percentage. Nobody's swinging a particularly hot bat right now, and they're going to need to score some runs going up against the Orioles, who've now won 3 in a row. They're absolutely killing it right now. This team can just mash. They're handing the ball in this one to Cole Irvin, who's 5-2 on the season with a 2.84 ERA, coming off a shutout performance against the Red Sox where he went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, no runs while striking out 6 and walking 3. He's looking very, very good out there, and in general, the Baltimore bullpen, nothing too bad for them. I mean, they're slightly above league average. 3.48 bullpen ERA will get the job done at least well enough, and this offense, guys, just humming along. They scored 9, 3, and 6 runs over their last 3 games. They are 2nd in the majors in slugging percentage. They are 7th in the majors in runs scored. Team batting average is nearing 250, so that's going to put them around top 10 in the majors. And yeah, this is just a team that can absolutely kill the ball. Gunnar Henderson is something to see, guys. 18 home runs, 41 RBIs, batting 260, and he is still a very, very young guy. So lots of positives for the Orioles. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see Tampa Bay is plus 120. The Orioles are only minus 132, and we got an over-under of 8.5. Baltimore is a dominant home team. They're 21-11 at home. Tampa Bay is only 11-13 on the road. I do know Littell is a solid guy out there on the mound fairly often, but regardless, guys, I'm leaning towards the Orioles in this one. I think they've got the better pitcher in this matchup. They've definitely got the better offense. I know it's a little bit scary betting on a team to sweep coming into a Sunday, but I just don't think we can ignore this price. It's a very, very reasonable price here on the Orioles, so give me Baltimore. They're going to be in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates going on the road to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. The Pirates come into this game fresh off of a Game 2 win. They won 8-1 in that one, so probably feeling great about that. They're handing the ball in this game to Quinn Priester, who's 0-4 on the season with a 4.33 ERA. His last start was back on the 14th of last month. He just missed a little bit of time, but he's back out there healthy, ready to go now. His start against the Brewers that last time, though, did not look great. He gave up 9 hits over 6 innings, so this dude hasn't looked too hot this season. Maybe now that he's healthy, he'll look a little bit better. He's had some decent spot starts, so like, I mean, we'll just see what we get out of him. I mean, not super high on this guy, and also not incredibly high on the Pittsburgh bullpen. They're 26 in the majors with a bullpen ERA north of the 4 mark, so that's not great. And this offense also hasn't been amazing. They've come alive a little bit recently. I mean, they scored 8, 3, and 10 runs over their last 3 games, but the game before that they got shut out. The game before that they only scored 1 run, so not exactly an offense that we're going to freak out about. 22nd in the majors in runs scored, 28th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're getting on base at an under 300 clip, so that's 26th in the majors for them. So just not a great offensive team. Not too scared of them at the plate. The Blue Jays, also not super scared of them, but they had won 4 in a row coming into that Game 2 loss. They're 27-30 on the season, so not exactly where they wanted to be. Handing the ball in this one to Chris Bassett. He is 5-6 on the year with a 4.03 ERA, but he's coming off of back-to-back shutouts. albeit those were games against the White Sox, but still, when you're shutting out major league opponents, you got to give a guy some credit there. I mean, pretty crazy stuff. He's looked a lot better than the Toronto bullpen has looked. I mean, they're 25th in the majors with a 4.00 ERA, so definitely going to have to lean on the offense to score some runs, but that's been a little bit tough this season. I mean, we see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is up to batting 292 on the year. He didn't get off to a hot start at all, but he's coming alive here a little bit. This team is top 10 in the majors in on-base percentage, but yeah, not scoring a ton of runs, not amazing team batting average. Over the last few games, they have looked better, but I mean, obviously yesterday they only scored 1 run, so that's not great, but 1, 5, 3, 7, and 5 runs over their last 5 games. Not terrible. They're trending in the right direction, so give them some credit there. Toronto is minus 152 in this game. The Pirates are plus 130. We've got an over-under of 8.5. Guys, in general in this game, I'm leaning towards Toronto. It's a little bit expensive of a price, so I don't think this will end up in the pinned comment. I do think Bassett is a better starter right now than Priester coming off of the IL, so we'll just go ahead and give the lean to the Blue Jays in this game, but I think it's very unlikely this ends up in the pinned comment. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Texas Rangers going on the road to take on the Miami Marlins. We saw the Rangers bounce back there in Game 2 and get the 7-0 win, so I'm sure they're pretty excited about that, although how excited can you get about wins over the Marlins? The Rangers are only 28-30 on the season, handing the ball in this one to Andrew Heaney. He's 1-6 on the year with a 4.47 ERA coming off of a bullpen appearance against the Arizona Diamondbacks where he went 2 1/3 innings, gave up 2 hits and no runs. His last start was against the Phillies. He got obliterated in that start. The start before that, he got knocked around pretty severely by the Angels. The start before that, he got destroyed by the Rockies. Like, this guy has not been having a good time lately. They're ready to put him back in the starting role, so we'll see how he does back there on the mound to start off a game. But yeah, not super high on him for obvious reasons. Also not super high on the Rangers bullpen. They're 27th in the majors with a 4.10 bullpen ERA, so not great. Their offense in general looked good yesterday for sure, scoring 7 runs, but they've scored 7, 2, 6, 4, and 6 runs over their last 5 games, so not too bad. I mean, this team is top half of the league, like slightly above average in offensive production, just pretty much across the board. I mean, 13th in on-base percentage, 12th in runs scored. We don't see anybody necessarily killing the ball. I mean, Corey Seager has looked good lately, so definitely give him some credit, but overall, this isn't an offense that you're necessarily terrified of. They're going up against a Marlins team who obviously doesn't have a ton to play for this season. They are at 21-38 on the year. We see Bethancourt on the bereavement list, so they're going to be without their catcher, so that's not ideal. I mean, yeah, this team, not one that's really knocking our socks off right now. They're handing the ball in this game to Trevor Rogers, who's 1-6 on the year with a 5.65 ERA. He's coming off a great start against the Padres, though, so give him some credit in that one. Start before that against the Brewers, though, didn't look so hot. He's been a little bit inconsistent, which is kind of what you would expect from a 26-year-old left-hander who's 6'5", so that all kind of makes sense to me. He's shown flashes of very good stuff, but don't know what to expect from him on a night-to-night basis. The Marlins bullpen's actually been decent. It's slightly above average, so some credit where credit is due there, but yeah, this offense, not a great offense. I mean, just not amazing. 26th in runs scored, 27th and 29th respectively in slugging percentage and on base percentage. They did score 8 and 9 runs over a 2-game span there, but yeah, not an offense I'm going to freak out about. The Rangers are minus 125 in this game. The Marlins are plus 110. We've got an over-under of 8.5. We see the Rangers are a pretty mediocre road team, going 14-17 on the road. The Marlins are only 11-20 at home, so that's also not great. We see the Marlins as a significant over team, but the Rangers are a very significant under team, but we don't really trust either one of these starters. Guys, this is not a game I have a great read on. These two teams are wildly inconsistent, just like both of these starters are. Go ahead and give me the Marlins plus 110 at home in this game, I suppose, just based on the outside chance that Trevor Rogers has at one of his great starts. But yeah, this is going to be a no-bet situation for me. Next up, we're looking at the Washington Nationals going on the road to take on the Cleveland Guardians. The Nationals come into this game fresh off of a Game 2 loss. They lost 3-2 in that one. They've now dropped the first 2 games in a row in this series at Cleveland. They're 26-31 on the season, handing the ball to Jake Irvin in this game. He's 2-5 on the year with a 3.43 ERA coming off of a great start against the Atlanta Braves there. Unfortunately for him, despite how good he's looked in most of these starts, over his last 5, we see the Nationals are 0-5. So not ideal, especially if you're going out there and pitching that well against the Atlanta Braves. You'd expect to have a chance to win the game. I mean, only 2 hits over 6 innings and striking out 10. That is a premium performance. He even looked decent back on the 17th against the Phillies, one of the best offenses in the majors. Like, this guy just doesn't feel like he can catch a break. And in general, guys, the Nationals bullpen hasn't been terrible. I mean, a 3.65 bullpen ERA is nothing awful. This offense definitely needs to improve, though. Over their last 2 games, they've scored 2 and 1 runs respectively. They weren't exactly lighting up the scoreboard against the Atlanta Braves, despite going 3-1 won in that series. And yeah, overall, just not a high producing offense. I mean, this team is 25th in the majors in runs scored, 24th in the majors in batting average. They're not trending in a positive direction either with these numbers, so not a lot of positives for them right now. They're taking a Guardians team that's playing well. They're 39-19 on the season, so give them some credit there. They've been looking pretty good lately, handing the ball in this game to Carlos Carrasco, who's 2-4 on the year with a 5.16 ERA. He completed an up-down bullpen session Sunday, and it's feeling a lot better, so apparently he's ready to go. That was the update 6 days ago, so he's ready to get back out there, and he was looking good over his last at least one start, maybe decent over 2 out of his last 3 starts. I mean, he's a veteran by every definition of the word. I mean, he's 37 years old, so definitely still has something in the tank, but it'll be interesting to see what he has in the tank here going up against the Nationals. The Guardians, in terms of their bullpen, they've just been amazing, an elite bullpen, a 2.44 bullpen ERA. So even if Carrasco doesn't make it deep into the game, you can trust in this bullpen to like hold things down, and you can also trust in this offense to put up some runs. I mean, over the last 4 games, they've scored 3, 7, 4, and 13 runs respectively. Obviously, this team isn't necessarily, hasn't been at full strength recently, but they've got Kwan back there from his stint on the IL. There's still a very good offensive team, guys. 3rd in the majors in runs scored, 7th in on-base percentage. They're 16th in batting average, but I think with Kwan back in there, that number's going to climb. And yeah, this is definitely a team you can trust at the plate. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Nationals at plus 132, the Guardians at minus 155. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. In general, guys, I'm leaning towards Cleveland once again. I don't know if I'll have the guts to put this in the pinned comment with Carrasco on the mound, but with Cleveland sporting such a solid offense and such a good bullpen, there's no reason to really be too scared of them in this one. I mean, unless you're looking at that curse of favorites on Sunday or something like that, but Cleveland is 20-6. That's an MLB best number at home. They're only minus 155 in this game. Go ahead and give me the Guardians in this one. I'm not too scared of Jake Irvin, but I'm also not super confident this will end up in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Chicago White Sox going on the road to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. We saw the White Sox take another loss. They're up to a 10-game losing streak at this point, so that's pretty devastating, you would think. I mean, this team has been bad all season long, but man, losing 10 games in a row, that cannot feel good. They're handing the ball to Nick Nastrini, who's 0-4 on the season with a 9.92 ERA, so obviously he's not looking great out there. He showed some improvement in his last outing. I mean, he was back on the 27th against the Toronto Blue Jays. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 earned runs on 3 hits. He gave up 2 home runs in that outing, so obviously not great. He walked 4 and struck out 5. Just not a lot of faith for me in this guy. I mean, he's only 24 years old. He's got a lot of growing to do, a lot of developing to do, and yeah, just a lot of work to put on overall if he wants to be a plus-level Major League starter. And in general, guys, the White Sox bullpen has actually been slightly above average, which is a bit surprising, but yeah, they're not getting a whole bunch to work with because this offense has been the worst offense in the majors. Like I always say, guys, not going to spend a ton of time talking about the Chicago White Sox offense other than to just say they are absolutely terrible. Dead last in runs scored, dead last in team batting average, dead last in slugging percentage, and dead last in on-base percentage. So the Milwaukee Brewers probably feel pretty good about their chances to win this game, and every game against teams like the White Sox. The Brewers are 35-23 in the season. They did get only a 4-3 win in Game 2 of this series. They're handing the ball in this one to Freddie Peralta, who's 3-3 on the year with a 3.61 ERA, coming off of a very good, I would say, start against the Cubs. He's had 2 bounce-back starts after getting shelled by the Houston Astros. Against the Marlins, he went 7 innings, gave only a single run on 4 hits. Against the Cubs his last time out, he went 5 2/3, gave up only 3 hits and a single earned run while striking out 11. Those are very, very good outings. Nothing wrong with that. We also see the Brewers have a great bullpen, a top 3 bullpen in the major league, so that's great. They're also one of the best offensive teams in the majors. They're 1st in batting average, 1st in on-base percentage. They're 2nd in the majors with 294 runs scored. We see Yelich is on an absolute heater right now. This team is just crushing it. They've scored 4, 12, 6, and 10 runs over their last 4. They're absolutely killing it. It's looking like they are going to run away here with the NL Central, and looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Brewers as huge favorites. They're minus 275 in this one. The White Sox are plus 245. We see Chicago is an MLB worst 5-23 on the road this season, so terrible road team. We see the Brewers are a big over team, but in general, guys, we're just interested in the Brewers in this one. We're going to go ahead and take Milwaukee minus 1.5. If you take a minus 1.5, you can get them at around minus 140, and I think that is a plenty good enough price for us. I think they're going to win this game in a very casual blowout, so give me the Brewers in this one. It's definitely going in the pinned comment. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we got the San Diego Padres going on the road to take on the Kansas City Royals. The Padres come into this game fresh off of winning both of the first two games of the series. They won 11-8 and then 7-3. They're up to 32-29 on the season, so seems like they're finally starting to figure some things out. They're handing the ball to Michael King in this game. He's 4-4 in the year with a 4.09 ERA. He's coming off a good start there against the Marlins, where he went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits, only a single earned run. He did give up a home run in that game. He struck out 7 and walked 1, so not a bad outing. He had a kind of a hard time against the Reds in his start before that. I mean, 6 2/3, 3 earned runs is not terrible, but start before that he got shelled by the Colorado Rockies, but start before that he was dominant against the Dodgers, so this guy's been a little bit inconsistent, but right now he's been looking pretty good. And in general, guys, the San Diego bullpen has been pretty mediocre. They're sitting at 24th in the majors with a 3.95 bullpen ERA, so that's not great. This offense kind of has to carry the load at times, and they've been doing that over the last couple games, scoring 7 and 11 runs respectively. On paper, guys, this should be an absolutely elite offense, but with Musgrove and Darvish going to the IL, things are looking a little bit tough. I mean, they're going to have to keep scoring runs here. They're 8th in the majors in runs scored, 2nd in batting average, 5th in team on base percentage, so this is definitely an offense that's capable of carrying the load here. The question is, will they be able to do that in this one against the Kansas City Royals, who are 35-25 on the season? They've happened upon some hard times, though. They've actually lost 6 of their last 7 games. They're hitting the ball in this one to Cole Rangans, hoping he can stem the tide here. He's 4-4 in the year with a 3.49 ERA, coming off a pretty bad start against the Twins. He went 5 innings, gave 8 hits, 2 earned runs, but 3 runs overall. He walked 1 and struck out 7, so I mean, not a disaster start necessarily, but if you're going to have 8 hits over 5 innings, you are in a lot of hot water very, very often, so that can be a difficult situation. Start before that, he was elite against the Tigers. Start for that, elite against the A's. Start for that, though, he got shelled by the Angels, so this is a guy that definitely seems like he prefers to be pitching at home. He's been dominant over his starts during his last 5 when he's been pitching at home, so definitely going to take that into account. And in general, guys, the Kansas City Royals bullpen has been a little bit below average. I mean, a bullpen ERA of 3.60 is not a disaster. This offense has been putting up some runs lately, but they've been having a hard time converting those into wins. I mean, over the last 3 games, they scored 3, 8, and 6 runs respectively, but they're 0-3 over those games, so that's not great. The Royals offense has scored 290 runs this season, which is pretty crazy at this point. They're 4th in the majors in runs scored, 7th in team batting average, 6th in team slugging percentage. This is a better hitting team than I expected them to be, so we'll just gonna wait and see if they can keep things rolling here. We see the Padres at plus 108, the Royals at minus 122. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. We see the Royals are 21-10 at home, but the Padres are a very good road team, guys. They're 18-10 on the road. We see mixed trends in terms of the over-under for these two teams, but guys, in general, we're leaning towards the Kansas City Royals minus 122 in this spot. I think Rangans on the mound is in a pretty good position pitching at home, so that feels good for sure. And the Padres, I mean, Michael King, I don't have a ton of faith in. I mean, he hasn't been terrible, don't get me wrong, but in general, I like the Royals in this spot at home to go ahead and get a win here. They really need one, and home has been their happy place. So give me the Royals minus 122. I think it's a pretty good spot. Next up, guys, we've got the Cincinnati Reds going on the road to take on the Chicago Cubs. These two are actually still playing right now. This is supposed to be a day game, I'm pretty sure, and it ended up being a night game with a rain delay that lasted for an entire day. They're currently in the middle of the 3rd inning with things tied up at 4 apiece, so we'll see how that one eventually ends. But the Reds come into this game 25-32 on the season, handing the ball to Nick Lodolo, who's 4-2 on the year with a 3.12 ERA. He's been looking pretty good over the course of the season. He had a little bit of a struggle there. I mean, he was facing the Giants and the Orioles, so 2 very good hitting teams, but he straightened that out with his last start against the Cardinals. He gave up only a single earned run and struck out 3 over 5 in a 3rd inning, so a very, very good start there. Not going to complain about that at all. We will complain a little bit about the Reds bullpen, though. Their bullpen ERA is 4.15, which is 28th in the majors, so not great there. This offense is coming alive a bit recently. I mean, over their last 3 games, they've scored at least 4 in their current game. They scored 5 in the game before that, 3 in the game before that. That's decent for an offense that's been having a very hard time. I mean, yeah, the 21st in runs scored, so not a disaster. I mean, that's a number that's trending in a positive direction. Their team batting average is also trending in a positive direction, so I'm expecting this offense to not be an absolute nightmare. And they're going up against a Cubs team who's kind of been having a nightmare recently, not having a great time. They're down to 28-30 on the season. Who knows if they'll win their current game? I mean, we're on the Reds, so we hope they don't, but they're handing the ball in this game to Ben Brown, who's 1-1 on the season with a 2.72 ERA, coming off of a dominant start there against the Milwaukee Brewers, where he went 7 innings, gave up no runs and no hits while striking out 10. Absolutely insane performance in that one. Will he be able to back it up? I don't know, guys. His last 3 outings have all looked very, very good. I mean, his start against the Braves before his start against the Brewers there, he went 4 innings, gave only a single hit, and struck out 6. So, yeah, the dude is absolutely dealing recently. And in general, guys, the starters have to be pretty good because the Cubs bullpen is 22nd in the majors with a 3.85 ERA. So, not a disaster bullpen, but not great. The Cubs offense has been a problem recently. I mean, they did have scored at least 4 runs in this game, 4 in the game before that, 4 in the game before that, 6 in the game before that. So not a disaster, but they're trending more towards like league average in terms of runs scored and in terms of on base percentage. They're 25th in the majors in team batting average, so that's obviously not elite either. And yeah, guys, I don't really know what to make of this one. I mean, looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Reds at plus 105. We see the Cubs at minus 116. We've got an over-under in this game of 7.5. We see both teams showing some slight trends towards the under. The Cubs are a pretty good home team, so I think in general with how good Ben Brown has looked recently, we're going to side with the Cubs as a slight lean in this one. But yeah, guys, this pick is not going in the pinned comment. I just don't have enough faith in either side in this specific pitching matchup. Next on the docket, guys, we get the New York Yankees going on the road to take on the San Francisco Giants. The Yankees come to this game fresh off of a Game 1 win. They're actually currently playing right now in the middle of the 6th inning with the Yankees up 4-3. So they're in a decent but maybe not insane spot in that one. So they have to feel pretty good about where they're at overall this season, though, at 40-19 on the year. They're handing the ball in this game to Nestor Cortes, who's 3-4 in the season with a 3.30 ERA, coming off a good but not great start against the Angels. But, I mean, over his last 3 starts, he's been very, very good. And a start against the Angels where you go 5 1/3, give up 2 earned runs on 5 hits, not exactly a disaster. He had solid starts against Seattle, solid starts against the White Sox. The question will be, how can he handle the hard-hitting San Francisco Giants? We'll just have to wait and see. In general, guys, the Yankees' bullpen has been the best in the majors with a 2.20 bullpen ERA. That is some pretty bonkers stuff, and their offense has been obviously one of the best in the majors all season long. They're second in on-base percentage, a number they have been great in all year, and we see Aaron Judge absolutely raking right now, and just up and down the roster, this is a scary, scary offense to face. I mean, they're first in slugging percentage, 6th in batting average, batting over 250 as a team. Like, this is an elite offensive team and just an elite team overall. They're taking on the Giants, who are 29-29 on the season, had actually lost 2 in a row coming into the game that they're currently involved in. So we'll see how the things play out the rest of the season for the Giants. One big question mark and one big problem for them has been Blake Snell. He's 0-3 on the season with a 10.42 ERA. His last couple of starts have been at least semi-playable. I mean, the Giants have gotten the win in both of them, but he has not been dominant by any stretch of the word. I mean, at Pittsburgh, he went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 4 earned runs. And then at home against the Phillies, he went 4 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, but 4 runs overall. He gave up a home run. He did strike out 7, so it seems like he's rounding into some kind of form. But, man, he's got to take on the Yankees now. Like, that could be pretty tough. So we'll just have to see what he ends up looking like out there. And guys, in general, looking at the Giants bullpen, it's been just borderline top 10 in the majors. I mean, a 3.33 bullpen ERA is nothing to turn your nose up at. And this offense has been coming alive a little bit. I mean, over the last few games, it has not been a walk in the park, don't get me wrong, but this team is a little bit above average offensively. Just they're swinging some pretty cold bats right now. I mean, in their current game, they scored 3 runs going into the 6th. The game before that, they scored 2. Game before that, 1. Game before that, 1. So, like, yeah, not an offense that's swinging the hottest bats. And they're not taking on a slouch there in Nestor Cortes. So, looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Yankees at minus 145. The Giants at plus 130. And we see an over-under in this game of 8. Having Blake Snell on the mound is a little bit questionable for me still at this point. I mean, he just doesn't seem to be himself. Go ahead and give me the Yankees minus 145. They're one of the best road teams in the majors with a 22-11 record on the road. So definitely very interested in the Yankees minus 145 going up against Blake Snell. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Los Angeles Angels going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. The Angels come into this game fresh off of a 9-0 loss there in Game 2. So they're now on a 4-game losing streak. They're down to 21-37 on the season, which can't feel great. They're handing the ball in this one to Griffin Canning, who's 2-4 in the year with a 5.08 ERA. Coming off of a pretty wild start there against the Yankees, he gave up 9 hits and only 3 earned runs over 5 innings. He gave only a single home run, but yeah, not exactly how you want to draw up that kind of start. He was in and out of trouble all night long. We did see the Angels win that game 4-3, so a little bit of credit there for him, but yeah, not exactly what you are drawing up there. I mean, definitely a very troublesome start. And in general, guys, the Angels bullpen has been one of the worst in the majors. They're 29th in the majors with a 4.20 bullpen ERA. So That's not fantastic. Also, this offense has not been delivering lately. I mean, they've scored 0, 4, 3, 1, and 4 runs over their last 5 games. Not looking great offensively, well below average now. Trout being out is definitely taking its toll. This team just not built to survive without him and not really built to flourish even with him in there. So not a lot of great things to say about the Angels offense. They're taking on a great pitching team in the Mariners who have been playing really, really well lately. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. They're up to 33 and 27 on the season. So that probably feels good. They're hitting the ball in this one to Luis Castillo. He's 4 and 6 on the year with a 3.28 ERA coming off of another very solid, very, very good start. Guys, over his last 5 outings, including starts against Houston, the Yankees, the Orioles, the A's, and the Twins, he has yet to allow more than 2 earned runs. The guy is absolutely dealing out there, getting those ground balls, getting some strikeouts, but not a ton, but just working his way through these games. We do see Seattle is only 3 and 2 over those starts, but man, he's putting them in a position to win in every single game. So big time credit to him. And looking at the numbers for the Seattle bullpen has not been quite as good as their starters have been. I mean, this bullpen is top 10 though with a 3.20 bullpen ERA, so that's not awful. And this offense, while it's not great, has been finding ways to produce runs. I mean, lately they're borderline swinging hot bats for them. I mean, 9 runs, 5 runs, 0, 2, 4, 3. Like, this team finding a way to cobble together some offense. They're 28th in the majors in runs scored, but I feel like that's trending slightly upwards. They are 27th in on base percentage, but once again, another number that I think is trending slightly up. And with an elite bullpen and elite starting pitching behind you, there's no problems here for this squad. We see Seattle is 20 and 11 at home. The Angels are 14 and 16 on the road. Seattle is minus 192 in this game. The Angels are plus 180. We've got an over-under of 7.5. Guys, I'm definitely leaning towards Seattle at home in this game. Are we brave enough to take them against the run line? I mean, that feels a little bit ambitious, don't get me wrong, but I think we have to at least consider it, because if you take them minus 1.5, you can get them all the way at plus 115, so I think that's slightly appealing to me. I mean, the Mariners' bats are looking pretty hot. Can we count on them to score 4 or 5 runs in this game? Against Griffin Canning, I think there's definitely a shot, so go ahead and give me the Mariners in this one. I don't think it's going to make it into the pinned comment. You could take a minus 192, or you could take a minus 1.5. I definitely think they're in a fantastic spot to win this game. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Colorado Rockies going on the road to take on the LA Dodgers. The Rockies and the Dodgers are currently playing right now in the bottom of the 5th. We see the Dodgers are up 3-1, so definitely leaning towards the Dodgers for that one. But in general, guys, the Rockies have been having a pretty decent time against them this season. I mean, and in this series, they already won game 1, so if they lose game 2, not a lot of shame in that. The Rockies are handing the ball in this one to Austin Gomber, who's been very, very good this year. He's 1-2 with a 2.76 ERA. He's coming off a great start where he went 8 innings against the Oakland A's. He only allowed 5 hits and a single earned run over that start. He walked none and struck out 6. And over his last 5 starts, guys, he's looked very, very good. So really, no notes here for Austin Gomber. He's been looking fantastic. No complaints from me on that one. And looking at the Colorado Rockies bullpen, it hasn't been terrible, guys. I mean, they're 19th in the majors with a 3.70 ERA. And when you're pitching in Coors Field a lot, got to give them a little bit of slack. Offensively, the Rockies haven't been having a terrible time lately either. I mean, in their current game, they have only scored 1 run, but game before that, they scored 4. Before that, 7 again, 8, 5. Like, this team is cobbling some stuff together here. I mean, they're 9th in the majors in batting average. They're a top 10 batting average team. Like, that's not nothing. They're 20th in the majors in runs scored, 14th in slugging percentage. Their league average on base percentage, getting on base at a 310 clip. Like, this is not a terrible offensive team at all. Not a lot of concerns for the Rockies offense, and they're taking on the Dodgers, who are obviously a very tough team to face, but the Dodgers haven't really been looking like themselves recently. I mean, they did have a sweep there of the Mets, but they got off to a bad start in this series. They're not really dominating here in game 2. I mean, 4-1 is fine, but not exactly a blowout. They're handing the ball in this one to Gavin Stone, who's 5-2 on the year with a 3.16 ERA. He's coming off a very good start. It was against the Mets, though. His start for that against the Diamondbacks wasn't amazing. In general, he's been very, very good this year. Like, don't get me wrong, Gavin Stone, definitely a plus level starter, but yeah, I don't know, guys. I mean, being a Dodgers starter, you can definitely count on a lot of run support. Not that he's really needed. The Dodgers bullpen has been very good also. I mean, they're 6th in the majors with a 2.95 bullpen ERA, so that's also very respectable. And this is one of the best offensive teams in the majors, no question about it. They are slumping a bit. I mean, they're down to 5th in runs scored and 4th in on-base percentage. In their current game, they have scored 4 runs. The game before that, they scored 10. Like, they had a pretty good series there against the Mets, but they had a terrible series before that against the Reds, a very mediocre series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So yeah, this team is showing some inconsistency right now. Maybe they're dealing with some nagging injuries and stuff like that, but you only get so many excuses. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Rockies at plus 245, the Dodgers at minus 267. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. We do see the Rockies not too good on the road, guys. The Dodgers are pretty good at home. But man, Colorado at plus 245 with Gomber on the mound, and you never know what you're going to get out of the Dodgers, and it's a Sunday game, so that makes it extra weird. Guys, go ahead and give me the Rockies plus 245. This feels like a bit of a long shot, and obviously it is. We're taking basically a 2.5 to 1 underdog, but I think they've got a very reasonable chance to win this game. Maybe we don't bet the whole amount on this one, like maybe take a half a unit play on them or something like that, but I definitely think the Rockies are in a very reasonable spot in this game, and this is likely to end up in the pinned comment. Last but not least, guys, we're looking at the St. Louis Cardinals going on the road to take on the Philadelphia Phillies in Game 3 of this series. We see the Cardinals have lost both Game 1 and Game 2. They lost 6-1 in Game 2 there. They're 27-29 on the year, handing the ball in this game to Lance Lynn, who's 2-3 on the season with a 3.45 ERA, coming off kind of a weird start at Cincinnati where he went 6 innings, gave up 3 runs, but only 1 was earned. He struck out 5 and walked 3 in that game, and he's had his good moments this season for sure. I mean, he had a fantastic start there against Baltimore, but had a pretty mediocre start at the Angels, a pretty mediocre start at the Brewers, and now he's got to go on the road to pitch at the Phillies. Like, that seems like a pretty tall order for him. And yeah, guys, just in general, I mean, the St. Louis Cardinals bullpen hasn't looked great. I mean, they're 23rd in the majors with a 3.90 bullpen ERA, and this is not an elite offensive team. I mean, they've scored 3 runs total in this series. They had a pretty good series there against the Reds, but they also had one game in that series where they only scored a single run, so not super high on the Cardinals offense, and they're going to have to score some runs here going up against a Phillies team that's killing it, basically all season long. They've scored 6 and 4 runs respectively in the first 2 games of the season. They're 41-18 on the year. They're handing the ball in this game to Taijuan Walker, who's 3-1 on the season with a 5.51 ERA. His last time out against the Giants, guys, did not look good. He went 6 innings, gave up 5 earned runs, 6 runs overall. He struck out 4 and walked 2, but yeah, I mean, that's a game we saw the Phillies lose 8-4, so not great there. But start before that, he was serviceable against the Rangers. Before that, serviceable against the Mets. Like, he's shown the ability to put up solid starts, especially against mediocre opponents, and especially pitching at home seems to help him. I mean, he had a start back on the 5th against the Giants at home where he went 6 1/3 and gave up only 3 earned runs. And the Cardinals are not by any stretch of the imagination an elite offensive team. The Phillies have a very good bullpen. 3.02 bullpen ERA is nothing to turn your nose up at, and they're probably the best offensive team in the majors right now, guys. I mean, 303 runs scored has them first in the majors, 4th in the majors in batting average. We see Harper absolutely killing it, 14 home runs, a 276 batting average. Like, this team absolutely elite. A 333 on base percentage is also fantastic. Like, we can expect them to put up some runs here against Lance Lynn. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, I think it's wild to see the Phillies at minus only 135. Give me the Phillies in this one in a big way. The Phillies are 24-8 at home. The Cardinals are only 14-17 on the road, and they're not a very good team overall. So give me the Phillies minus 135. This is very likely to be my biggest bet of the day. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.